Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The player I'm going to talk about next here is not going to be an easy thing to do. It's not going to be a free agency thing. It would require a trade. And, how is it going to be possible? I'm going to talk about a player that I have heard quite a bit about from Capitals fans that the Capitals should pursue, and that's Mitch Marner. Quite a big name. We know what he means for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it does seem that there is a bit of discontent between the Maple Leafs and Mitch Marner, and potentially in that vice versa as well. Would Mitch Marner entertain the idea of waiving his no-move clause and go to another team? In this episode, I'm going to talk about the Capitals. How crazy would it be if Mitch Marner was on the Caps? One player whose name has been frequently mentioned in conversations about goal-scoring help is Mitch Marner. Despite being a right wing, he fits the bill for what the GM, Brian McClellan, said he's looking for in a top six forward. However, given Marner's high salary and cap hit, it would take some strategic maneuvering to make a trade work. Mitch Marner's salary is $8 million plus, and his cap hit is $10,903,000 for, this was the past 23-24 season. If you're not familiar with Mitch Marner, say you're just a Caps-centric fan, Mitch Marner, who was drafted 4th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2015, has played 8 seasons in the NHL and has a total of 639 points in 576 games. With an additional 50 playoff points in 57 games, he will become an unrestricted free agent in 2025 when he is 28 years old. Again, at 28 years old, I guess if you're under 30, that's what it's all about. It's a young man's game, and some of the teams that are playing very well are the teams that have young players on the team. Now, how would the Capitals be able to facilitate something like that, as right now they don't have enough cap space? Well, of course, they're going to have to make some sort of trade. While Marner would be a great addition to the Capitals, it would be difficult to pull off a trade like that. The Leafs are currently looking for help in net. As we saw, they got fanned out in the playoffs, and the Capitals have Darcy Kemper and Charlie Lindgren. Additionally, the Capitals would have to weigh the cost of potentially shipping out prospects or young talent like Connor McMichael and Hendrix Lapierre. Again, I don't think a Darcy Kemper or Charlie Lindgren by themselves would get it done. There's a lot of different ways you can finagle this. You could do salary retention on Darcy Kemper. You could make it Darcy Kemper plus Connor McMichael. You can make it Charlie Lindgren plus a Capitals prospect. There's a lot of different ways you could go about doing it. It's just depending on how creative Brian McClellan is willing to get, and if Toronto is a taker on it. Listen, they have struggled. Samsonov, that Samsonov went to the Toronto Maple Leafs and, showed moments of greatness, but kind of like with the Capitals, was a bit hot, was a bit cold, and is ultimately playing on a Toronto Maple Leafs team that I think is cursed to a certain extent. So I think that if you take a look at the Maple Leafs, if they added like Darcy Kemper or Charlie Lindgren, especially Charlie Lindgren, who has 1 year left on his deal and is getting paid around $1.2 million, quite a deal there. Plus, if you add a sweetener of a prospect or like a Connor McMichael, Hendrix Lapierre, something of that nature, that is what it would take to facilitate something like this. Again, it might require much more. It just depends on, what the Maple Leafs are looking for. And, you can spread out the contract, like say, they get him and they sign him to a long extension or something of that nature. I don't think it's, impossible, but I think it's improbable, but it is something that, they talked about. Top six forward, I think Mitch Marner fits that bill. The Leafs themselves are facing a summer filled with trade rumors after yet another disappointing postseason, with Marner's name at the forefront of many of these rumors. While it would be unfair to attribute the Leafs' playoff struggles solely to Marner, his expiring contract and his prime years make him the most expendable of Toronto's core four. However, Marner has a no-move clause in his current contract, giving him the option to stay in Toronto or have a say where he's traded. Ultimately, it may be the best for both Marner and the Leafs if he got a start somewhere else. I'm all ears. I mean, I would just love the moment that I could come to you guys and say, hey, I have some really big news. The Capitals have acquired Mitch Marner. I mean, how crazy is that? And it's not that crazy. You take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are a team that has done their darndest to try and win a Stanley Cup, something that has eluded them for a long time. And it's a bit of a tragedy for the Maple Leafs, as that is a team that loves their hockey team. Even if they're poor, they love that team. I mean, it's, you take a look at hockey, the NHL in Canada, and it's similar to what the NFL is here. They love hockey up there. And so when their team is not doing well, they're willing to make changes. And one of the things I know is they need help in net. They need a lot of help, but that is one area in particular. And what is one of the things that the Capitals have a glut of is goaltenders, really good goaltenders. And it wouldn't be like the end of the world scenario if Kemper left or Lindgren left, as we have Hunter Shepard and Clay Stevenson and Garen Bjorklund and Mitchell Gibson and down the pipeline, Antoine Keller. There is a lot of possibilities for the Capitals in net that even if one of those netminders moved, it's not the end of the world scenario. And then you take a look at it is, if you did move like a LaPierre or you moved a Connor McMichael, if you could get a player like a Mitch Marner, would you be willing to do that? Absolutely. I would be willing to do it because it's fun to talk about, how we have these prospects and these young players. And one day, I feel like I'm a grandpa talking to my grandkids. One day, this team is going to be really good. I don't want to live in the future. I want to live in the here and now. No, don't get me wrong. I don't think that they should sell the farm and totally deplete it. But what I'm saying is that if they have to give up something big to get something big, that's what you do. I mean, it's just take a look around all professional sports. If you want to get back into the winning business, that is what you've got to do. And the Capitals with a Mitch Marner or a Steven Stamkos, are they going to be better? You better believe they're going to be a lot better. That is something to be excited about. Those are the kind of things that I want Brian McClellan to pursue. And I know that Alex Ovechkin said in the offseason, he's like, hey, I'm not too involved, but hey, maybe you should call McDavid or Crosby. It's crazy things, but the Capitals are going to need to pursue big leads, get creative to make this team better. Again, Mitch Marner would be huge, but I don't know if Ted Leonsis has, tied shut the purse strings for Brian McClellan or what the case is, but they need to be aggressive, because what I've heard from GM Brian McClellan is like, well, I'm going to see if there's someone available. That's not making me get a lot of warm fuzzies as a Capitals fan. I want a guy that says, we're going to take care of it this summer. I don't care how it gets done. Get it done. I want competitive hockey back in the district in the fall. And I'm not trying to sound like a whiny baby about it. Winning hockey, for the Capitals is what it's all about. Let's get it done. Let's not be afraid to dream. And Brian McClellan, let's get creative.